Okay, let's unpack this a bit. Imagine being confronted with your deepest secrets, right? And your first instinct is just change the subject, pivot.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we're diving into this really fascinating conversation from the sources. It's a meeting at a well, and it reveals some pretty profound truths about worship, identity, and, well, where God actually meets us.
Yeah, what's so fascinating here is how this interaction, I mean, it looks like it could just be a theological debate
Hmm.
about, where to worship.
Right, mountains versus cities.
Exactly. But it becomes this masterclass in redirection, really. It fundamentally shifts how we think about connecting with the divine. We'll explore why Jesus even goes down this path with her, this tangent, and what it means for us, in overcoming shame and finding this new place of worship he talks about.
So, our mission today, let's pull out the core insights from this encounter between Jesus and this Samaritan woman. We want to show you why a seemingly simple question, like, where should we worship? Quick, actually unlocks a whole universe of understanding about who God is and where that true connection really lies. Get ready for maybe some aha moments here. It could reframe things.
Absolutely.
So, the scene. Our sources paint quite a picture. Jacob's well, high noon. What's the significance there? The setting, the time, especially for this woman.
Oh, it's absolutely crucial. Picture it. The sun is just beating down, hottest part of the day.
The worst time to get water.
The most inconvenient time.
Yeah.
But the sources suggest why she'd be there then. She wanted to avoid people. This well wasn't just, a place to get water. For her, it was her personal place of isolation, maybe even shame, a place she felt kind of trapped by her reputation, her life.
And then right there, Jesus confronts her.
Yeah.
Just lays it out. He tells her, you have had 5 husbands, and the man that you are now with is not your husband. That's incredibly direct, personal.
It is. And this is where it gets so recognizably human,
Mm-hmm.
Instead of asking, I don't know, what must I do to be saved, or dealing with the sin he just exposed, her immediate reply is, Sir, I perceive that you are a prophet. She gets hit with the intimate details of her life, and boom, she pivots. Changes the subject completely. It's almost universal, isn't it? You feel exposed, vulnerable.
Wait, talk about something else.
Exactly. Suddenly you're an expert on ancient theological disputes. We've all probably done something like that, right? Trying to sound smart, to hide our discomfort.
Definitely. So she immediately shifts to this debate about worship places. Our fathers worshipped on this mountain, Mount Gerizim, but you Jews say that in Jerusalem is the place where people ought to worship. Classic deflection.
That's exactly it. It reflects such a common human reaction. When we're confronted with our faults, our discomfort, our shortcomings, we often shift blame, or we counter-accuse, or we just change the topic entirely. It's a defense mechanism, pure and simple.
But here's where Jesus' approach gets really interesting. He doesn't rebuke her. He doesn't say, hey, wait, that's not the point. We need to talk about your sin. Instead, he actually indulges her question. He kind of goes, okay, you want to talk about place? Let's talk about place. He meets her right where she is in that conversation, not to let her off the hook, I think, but to lead her somewhere deeper. It's really a masterclass in empathetic engagement, isn't it?
It really is. Strategic empathy, maybe.
Yeah. So let's dive into this where she's bringing up. The sources explain the historical divide, right? Samaritans worshipped on Mount Gerizim. They believed Abraham built an altar there. And crucially, they only accepted the first 5 books of the Old Testament, the Torah.
Right.
Jews, meanwhile, worshipped in Jerusalem. What was the kind of theological weight behind these different spots?
Well, it wasn't just about geography, like you said. It symbolized a really deep theological split, a schism.
Okay.
And it was rooted in different understandings of God's covenant, his promises. Because the Samaritans only accepted the Torah, they missed out on huge parts of God's unfolding revelation. Things like the covenant with David, the instructions for the Jerusalem temple, many later prophecies about the Messiah.
Stuff that was really important to the Jewish understanding.
Absolutely. The Jews, in contrast, had the fuller picture, the more complete revelation of God as it had been given up to that point.
Okay, so in response to her question about the correct place, Jesus drops this bombshell, really. John 4.21. Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem will you worship the Father.
Boom. Just like that, he completely dismantles the whole geographical argument. That long-standing hostility over where to worship, gone. The focus shifts decisively. It's not about where anymore.
It's about who.
Precisely. Getting the who right is suddenly presented as the most important thing, paramount.
And it's fascinating, his specific wording. She talked about our fathers, meaning her Samaritan ancestors, right?
Oh.
But Jesus responds by talking about the Father. Why that specific term, the Father? What's the significance there?
Well, it seems he's intentionally lifting the idea of God the Father out of that narrow kind of tribal or family lineage box.
Yeah.
It's not just the father of the Jews or the father of the Samaritans. He's presenting God as the Father for all cultures, all people groups. The woman's initial problem, maybe unknowingly, was having an inaccurate or incomplete picture of God. Jesus is correcting that, expanding her view of him right there. And he doesn't really pull any punches either. He follows up with, "You Samaritans worship what you do not know. We Jews worship what we do know, for salvation is from the Jews."
Okay, hold on. That line, salvation is from the Jews, that sounds pretty exclusive, doesn't it? How does that fit with the idea of God being for all cultures that you just mentioned? Feels like a contradiction.
That's a really great question, and it is a bit of a paradox, isn't it? But think of it this way. God chose a specific people, the Jews, for a specific purpose to preserve his complete revelation and to be the line through whom the Messiah, the Savior, would eventually come.
Okay.
So this focused preparation, this choosing of one group, was precisely so that through them, salvation could ultimately go out to everyone. It's like a divine strategy.
Yeah.
Focused preparation leading to global distribution.
Yeah. I see. So it's not exclusion for exclusion's sake?
No, not at all. Jesus, being a Jew himself, is basically inviting her into the full story, the full truth that was revealed and preserved through the Jewish people. So she could accurately know who the Father is, who the Son is, who God truly is. It's actually an invitation, not just a statement of fact.
Okay, that makes more sense. So he's established it's not about location, it's about who the Father. Then he takes her and us deeper again. What does it really mean to worship in spirit and truth? He says that in verses 23 and 24.
Right, so first, God is spirit. When Jesus says that, it's like saying God isn't contained by physical things. He's not limited to a building or a mountain or any postcode. You know?
Right.
He can't be confined. Think back to Genesis 1, the Spirit of God hovering over the waters. Or David in the Psalms, like Psalm 139, just amazed that God is everywhere. You can't escape his presence.
Yeah.
It's not about an address. It's about omnipresence. God is fundamentally different from us, not bound by space.
Okay, so if God is spirit, then worshiping in spirit must mean worship from the inside,
Right.
from the heart, as opposed to just going through the motions externally.
Exactly. That's the core of it.
Yeah.
While, external actions, going to church, singing, lifting hands, giving money, those can definitely be part of worship.
Sure.
True worship, the kind Jesus is talking about, absolutely requires the heart to be engaged. Your affections, your love for God, that internal participation. Without the heart being in it, it's not really true worship. It might just be ritual or habit or maybe even performance.
So thinking about this for you listening, what does this mean day to day? It means wherever you go, you take your heart with you, right? So this new place of worship, which is rooted in your heart, means you don't have to wait for Sunday morning or a specific building. You can connect with God, pray, read his words, sing, just give thanks literally anywhere, anytime.
And you see how that connects back to the woman. She was so fixated on the mountain, the external place.
Right, which mountain is correct.
Yeah. When maybe the real question was about the state of her own heart, the healing she needed inside, she was looking outward when the transformation Jesus offered started inward. And this idea also untethers true worshipers from being exclusively Jewish. Paul picks this up later, doesn't he? He talks about true circumcision not being outward, physical, but a circumcision of the heart.
Ah, interesting connection.
Yeah, it means it's not about external rituals or ethnic identity primarily, but an internal change, a cutting away of the old self done by the Spirit. So true worship transcends geography, culture, language. Fundamentally, it's about the heart connecting with God.
Okay, spirit, the heart's engagement. But then there's the other part. In truth. Jesus says true worship must also be in truth. Why is truth so essential here? Isn't sincerity enough?
That's a crucial point. Sincerity or just believing in some vague higher power isn't sufficient according to Jesus here. Knowledge of who you're worshiping, specifically who the Messiah is, truly matters. Remember, the woman only knew the Torah. So her understanding of the Messiah, while she was expecting one, was necessarily incomplete, as was common for Samaritans.
She even says what she does know, her partial knowledge, right? In verse 25, I know that Messiah is coming. When he comes, he will tell us all things. She's clearly waiting, expectant.
She is. And that sets up maybe the most profound, direct declaration from Jesus in the Gospels, verse 26. I who speak to you am he.
Yes. Wow.
It's an extraordinary moment. It's really the only place in the entire Bible where Jesus explicitly tells someone so directly, I am the Messiah.
And think about who he chooses for this massive revelation. It's not, a powerful king or a high priest or some respected scholar. It's
Right.
specifically, first, a woman in a culture where a woman's testimony often wasn't even legally valid, not seen as a leader.
Mm-hmm.
Second, a Samaritan woman, part of a group despised by many Jews, seen as religiously and ethnically impure.
Right. The historical baggage there was huge.
And third, not just any Samaritan woman, but an unfaithful one by societal standards, 5 previous husbands, currently living with a man not her husband.
That choice is just radical, and it speaks volumes, doesn't it? It profoundly demonstrates that you matter to God. Whoever you are listening, whatever your past, your social standing, your background, none of that disqualifies you. Jesus meets us right where we are, often at our point of greatest need, our deepest shame.
It's also interesting how she recognized him as a prophet before that big I am he reveal. How did she get there?
Well, the sources connect this back to Deuteronomy chapter 18. That's a book in the Torah which she would have known.
Okay.
And that passage predicts a future prophet like Moses, someone God would raise up, put his words in his mouth, and importantly, whose words would come true. When Jesus revealed the intimate hidden details of her life, the 5 husbands, that was proof. It validated him in her eyes as that prophet she was likely anticipating from her own scriptures.
So he met her within her own framework, the Torah.
Exactly. He engaged her based on what she already knew and believed, and then used that connection to open her eyes to the rest of the story, the fuller truth about the Messiah. That the Messiah isn't just a prophet, but also a priest and king.
Prophet, priest, and king, what does that encompass?
Well, prophet, the one who speaks God's definitive word to us, priest, the one who represents us to God, makes atonement, bridges the gap, and king, the one who has ultimate authority over us, our rightful ruler. Jesus embodies all 3. He gives us God's truth, provides access through his sacrifice, and claims lordship. And this revelation, coming through Jesus, a Jew, again validates that statement. Salvation is from the Jews. They were the custodians of this complete picture he was now revealing.
Okay, let's circle back then to where this whole thing started. At noon, remember, that was her daily place of likely isolation and shame.
A place she probably felt trapped, maybe unable to even go to a temple because of her sin or social standing. And Jesus specifically chose to meet her there, right at the epicenter of her shame, her struggles. That's so powerful. It highlights that Jesus doesn't wait for us to get cleaned up or go to the right place. He meets us most profoundly right where we feel our deepest need, our greatest vulnerability.
So he took her from that place of isolation, that place she thought she was hiding, maybe even from God.
Yeah.
And offered her this revolutionary new way of worship. Connection.
She didn't need to climb Mount Gerizim anymore or make a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. The new place Jesus revealed isn't geographical at all. It's internal in the heart, engaged with God. And it's anchored in reality, in the truth of who Jesus Christ himself is.
Accessible now as prophet, priest, and king.
Wherever she goes.
Yeah.
Wherever you go. That access isn't tied to a location anymore. It's tied to him.
Wow. What an incredible deep dive, really, into what seemed like just one simple conversation at a well. We've seen how Jesus, faced with that very human tendency to deflect, to change the subject, instead guides us with such, strategic brilliance, maybe, towards this revolutionary understanding of worship, something that goes way beyond place and ritual.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, maybe for everyone listening, it raises a really important question, I think. Those places where we feel most shamed or isolated, the topics we try to dodge when our own shortcomings get exposed.
Yeah.
Could it be that those very points of vulnerability, our own personal wells, are the precise locations where God wants to meet us? Where real truth and profound transformation are waiting to be revealed, just like they were for that woman.
That is a powerful thought to chew on. Definitely something to think about. Until next time, keep diving deep into what truly matters.